Greetings, citizens of Gotham. My name is Graham Elwood. You are watching the Political Vigilante Progressive Comedy Tour. We are coming to Florida, January 9th through the 12th. Gainesville, Coral Gables, Orlando, and Jacksonville. Go to grahamelwood.com. We've just added more tour dates too. Salt Lake City, New Orleans, Pensacola, Dallas, Fort Worth, San Antonio. We're adding more dates as it's going. Also, the Stay in Your Lane comedy show, December 22nd at the Corbin Bowl in Tarzana. If you're in the LA area, come out. Ron Placone's on that show. It's a lot of fun. So support the live shows. They're great nights. It's a blast. I love doing them. And it's a great way to support the show and everything we're doing. Support independent artists, because you know what happens when you do that, you guys? You make Gotham great again. That's what you do. You make Gotham great again. So this just happened. Tulsi Gabbard is considering running in 2020. How do we know this? She said it on MSNBC.
Welcome back to Hardball. The Trump administration has made a concerted and committed effort to defend, believe it or not, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia after he ruthlessly ordered, the murder of Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi. In the past 48 hours, the president, his son-in-law, and the Secretary of State have all dismissed the CIA assessment that there was a high probability that MBS, that's the Crown Prince, ordered the killing. In an interview with Reuters, Trump defended his position, saying he's the leader of Saudi Arabia. They've been a very good ally. When an uncharacteristically tough grilling from Fox News, however, Mike Pompeo knocked down the notion that more should be done. Let's watch.
The direct evidence isn't yet available. It may show up tomorrow. It may have showed up overnight, and I haven't seen it. But
someone
President
has to pay
Trump
the price, though. It's so
Trump,
brutal. Apparently, those audio tapes are awful.
The Saudis have already paid the price. There are the folks who actually committed the murder we've held accountable.
Well, according to the Washington Post, the administration's inability to listen to the CIA has frustrated officials. Intelligence officials tell the Post that there is a disconnect between the spy agencies and the president that is without precedent, leaving an arrangement they call dysfunctional, much like Trump refusing to release his taxes because of the audits he says are going. It's unclear if Trump will ever accept the intelligence about MBS. I'm joined right now by Democratic Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii.
Here we go.
Well, it is like every time you ask Trump about his tax returns, he says they're under audit. Or he says, like he used to do with Obama and his birth records from Hawaii. Oh, I'm checking on those. It's nonsense. It's BS. Nobody believes they're doing anything but just delay. Why are they doing this?
The biggest BS that I see in this whole thing is this statement that you hear from President Trump. You hear it from Mike Pompeo. You hear it from different people within this administration that Saudi Arabia is a good ally or is our best ally or our best friend within the region. The issue here with the murdering of this journalist in Turkey shines a light on the larger question that I think needs to be asked and answered here in Washington, which is, show the evidence of how Saudi Arabia is our ally, because I can tell you there is a long list of reasons pointing to all of the reasons why they are not our allies, why they are acting directly in ways that are counterproductive to the interests of the American people and to our own national security interests.
So why is the president's son-in-law in charge of all this? Because he thinks he's got a buddy in MBS, the killer over there. They've sweet-talked him. He's been seduced by them. He thinks he's going to get a pro-Israeli deal. Not just a deal in the Middle East, but a deal that Netanyahu's going to like, the hardest of the Likudniks, that he's going to like it. How can there be such a deal?
When you look at the things that this administration is doing, they are things that are moving us farther and farther away from the possibility of striking a peace deal between the Israelis and the Palestinians. Again, we've got to look at what's driving this. And if you look at Trump, and he's made it very clear, it's money. And it's his so-called deal with the Saudis for this $110 billion of weapons that he's selling to them without regard for how they're using those weapons and slaughtering people in Yemen. There are so many issues here that really.
You don't think we should have to deal with the fact that the Saudi royal family is there to stay? There's nothing we can do about it.
That's not the point. I'm not saying that we've got to get rid of the Saudi state or the government or whatever. That is not my point at all. I don't believe that we should be in the regime change business, whether it be in Saudi Arabia, in Iran, or North Korea, or Syria, or anywhere else.
Let's take a look at this. Meanwhile, according to Outgoing, you and Ambassador Nikki Haley talked to my colleague Craig Melvin about how she would use President Trump's unpredictable behavior to her advantage at the UN. Let's watch this strange story.
Is it true that you use the president's unpredictable rhetoric to our advantage diplomatically?
If I needed to pick up the phone and say, this is what I'm going to do, you know, are you good with this? Or this, we kind of partnered in that. And so he would like ratchet up the rhetoric, and then I'd go back to the ambassadors and say, you know, he's pretty upset. I can't promise you what he's going to do or not, but I can tell you if we do these sanctions, it will keep him from going too far.
This is sort of like the Nixon mad bomber thing. Make him think. And she's saying that's what she'd do to our people negotiating with us. Oh, be careful. This guy's a little rocky here.
And yet what she's doing is further ratcheting up tensions with other nuclear powers in the world, further beating those hawkish neocon war drums. So whatever she's trying to make it sound like she's the good cop in the room.
I like this. Anyway, let me ask you about your cause, because right now Trump ran by saying he was going to get rid of stupid wars and help the troops. Where'd you put him on that? Where's he doing on that?
Moving us in the wrong direction. Not only have we not ended any of these stupid wars, we are continuing to have our troops deployed in places like Afghanistan and Syria and other places, all while this administration is laying the groundwork for a regime change war against Iran. What to speak of the veterans here at home? I spoke with a veteran recently who used to work in the VA and who now works just helping veterans in his community, who said, and he was a Republican, and he said never before has he seen veterans worse off with this VA than he has with this VA. And that's because veterans are being treated like a number. Yeah. And so in order to report out good statistics, their cases are being closed prematurely. We're seeing cases and appointments being deleted completely because they were waiting too long. And this GI Bill issue, where veterans are trying to go to school, they've been promised these benefits, and the VA is saying, well, actually, you know, we'll pay you in a year and a half. Meanwhile, they've got to pay their rent, they've got to pay their tuition and take care of their families.
And our dad went to school on the GI Bill.
Yeah, so did I.
That's why we're middle class. Anyway, 2020, the Baskin Robbins campaign. There's every kind of flavor running. Somebody from Hawaii was recently elected president, Barack Obama. Mm-hmm. Yourself, are you running?
I'm seriously considering.
What would stop you?
I'm concerned about the direction of our country.
No, what would stop you from running?
I don't know. I'm thinking through
Sounds
very
like you're
carefully.
heading toward it.
I'm thinking
That's
through
an
it
old
very
Tim Russert question, by the way. What would stop you? You have to come up with that answer. It's good to have you. A lot of people are seeing you for the first time. U.S. Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard may run for president in a very wide, interesting field.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube.
Wow. So, okay, Tulsi Gabbard sounds like she's going to run. I wonder what she's weighing in her minds. Is Bernie going to run? Because she was a big Bernie supporter. She obviously wouldn't want to, my guess is at least she wouldn't want to run against Bernie in a primary. If Bernie doesn't run, will Bernie back her? What I would like to see, I'd love to see her run. But I would love to see Bernie just go, I'm running and she's going to be my VP when I'm elected. Just announce, why wait for the VP? The rules have changed. Do whatever you want. So I went to her website because there's a lot about her I very much like. And she's got a lot of great issues on her website that I really like. I went into the how to deal with terrorism thing because she has taken some criticism from some progressives, and maybe it's rightfully so, because I'm not going to blindly follow anybody. I will not do that. And I'm going to hold, if she runs for president, it becomes president, I will try to hold her accountable. I'm going to hold Ocasio-Cortez accountable, and I'm going to applaud the good things and be critical of the bad. So this is something that some people on the left say, well, she's a little too hawkish, you know, because she's a combat vet, she has this, they bring up the stuff she said back in the 90s, you know, that are very anti-Islamic, and that's just smear campaign nonsense. That's stuff she's already said. I don't believe that anymore. I was young and I didn't know what I was talking about. She's 37, right? So, you know, we all said stupid shit when we were 18 or 19. But I don't want to just blatantly say, let's go through this. Let's go through. So this is off of her website. These are excerpts from her website. So she has this 4-point plan on how to deal with terrorism. We must immediately end the illegal and counterproductive war to overthrow the Syrian government of Assad, which is great. And then the link, her website, I'm going to put it in the show notes below. Check it out. Make your own conclusions. Put your conclusions in the comment section. Because guess what? The 2020 presidential election is going to start right after the new year. Beginning of 19, it's on. It's on. There's a year and a half of campaigning and primaries and everything else. And so, so let's know who she is and what she wants. So she goes into, and when you go on to this section 1, you read below it, she goes, look, Assad's not a great guy, but this is ridiculous how we're doing. And I tend to like her point of view on this. 2, we must defeat ISIS militarily. To defeat ISIS, we must work with and support trusted partners on the ground, such as the Kurds, Syrian Arabs, and non-ISIS Sunni Iraqi tribes. Sending large numbers of U.S. troops into Syria, Iraq would be a very bad idea, as it would play directly into the ISIS rhetoric, characterizing their genocidal mission as a war between the West and Islam, and fuel ISIS recruitment activities. By working with local partners on the ground, providing advice and air support, that's what I have a problem with. I don't like seeing that. Along with special forces teams, that was Obama did that, who can launch quick strike missions, we can overwhelm ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and other terrorist organizations and have in place local elements securing and governing the territory retaken. I mean, that sounds good. Here's my problem with this, and I'll tell you why. Because air support, this sounds a little Obama-ish to me. You don't want to put boots on the ground? Great. But what does air support mean? You're going to just keep drone striking the way Trump has been doing, the way Obama's been doing that? Because drone striking creates these terrorist organizations. I'm not saying ISIS is good or Al-Qaeda. They're very scary, horrifying organizations. But how are they created? And we let them come through Turkey into Syria. And the journalist Serena Shim was murdered for uncovering that. Well, she was in a very sketchy automobile accident that the United States doesn't seem to have the time to investigate. That happened in Turkey. Weird. So this, along with special forces teams who can launch, this scares me. I'll be very honest with you. Because this makes me wonder, is this going to do, because that's what Obama did, right? He pulled the big numbers of boots off the ground, which was good, but then just these endless air support special forces wars that just go on forever. That makes me leery. I'll be very honest with you. I would love to see her run for president, but this is something I would ask her if I was interviewing her. I would say, is that what you're going to do? Because this seems like there's a wide berth in here. Like you could drop 26,171 rockets in just this term, air support. So would she get, co-opted by the military-industrial complex? She's ex-military. Would they come in? I don't know. I'm asking these questions because I don't know. I want to have like a progressive that we can all get behind. She seems like someone we could all very much get behind. But I saw Obama as hope and change, and look where we are. So I'm not saying she's going to go down the Obama road, but I'm going to ask these questions. I don't give a shit if I'm offending anybody. I'm going to ask these questions. When she speaks, she's like someone I want to lead. I want to follow. She's a leader, like she speaks like a leader. She's obviously, she was an officer in the military. She was a combat, I believe she was a captain. That's a leader. So and the way she handles herself in interviews and when she's been attacked for being an Assad apologist, the way she handles all that is really, really great. But I want to know what this means. There must be a political solution. We must encourage and support the creation of semi-autonomous regions in the areas now called Syria and Iraq, so that the various sects, the Sunni, Shiites, and the Kurds, are able to take care of their own governance and security. The dominance and persecution of one sect over another in Iraq is part of what allows ISIS and other Islamist organizations to gain a foothold there. Okay? As a result, arriving at a political solution that minimizes sectarian conflict is key to preventing ISIS and other terrorist organizations from continuing to spread and grow. All right. I like that. I like that. This is something that no one's ever suggested before. And I thought this when I was in Afghanistan several times. And then when I was in Iraq. This might sound crazy. This is just nuts. Put money into soccer. We don't understand this as Americans. Anyone watching this that lives in Europe knows what I'm talking about. You guys call it football. You call what we play American football. For these purposes, I'm an American. I'm a gringo. We'll call it soccer. It is the most popular sport on the face of the earth. I was in Iraq doing shows during the Asia Cup, and the Iraq national team was advancing in the Asia Cup, and people went work. Every shop I was in, I don't know if you've ever been in a foreign country, if you're an American, you've ever been anywhere outside of the US and Canada, just about during the World Cup. It's crazy. I was in Costa Rica at the start of the World Cup. Every store had a TV. They were watching every game. When the Costa Rican national team played, like everything shuts down. That's all anyone does, right? So I was in Iraq and they were playing in the Asia Cup and they had advanced. And everyone was like, it was like, wow. If we actually did a political solution and not just bomb and then I hope including in this political solution is not giving money to the corrupt people that have replaced the regime change. But if we got behind, we put money into soccer, especially Afghanistan. But Iraq is split into these three, the Sunni, Shiites, and the Kurds. Some people suggested they should have split the country up, Iraq, into three different zones, basically, three different separate countries. Afghanistan is even way more tribal. But what would unify the country is soccer. Getting a national team, getting club teams, right? Like the Premier League or MLS here, or like in Brazil. Every country has club teams, and then people root for those club teams. It gets people involved and hopeful and not wanting, obviously you got to put money into the economy to give people jobs. That's a big part of it. When I was in Afghanistan, I would talk to soldiers who would say, look, these farmers, the only crop they have is opium, and we got rid of the opium because of the war on drugs. There's nothing else for them to grow. So then Al-Qaeda or the Taliban comes along and says, look, here's $100 to go put this bomb by the side of the road. $100 is a huge amount of money to somebody in a poor third world war torn country. Put soccer there. I don't know, maybe I'm nuts. But I like this political solution. Again, I'm leery of the air support special forces solution. Number 4, we must defeat ISIS and other Islamic militants ideologically. In order to defeat the enemy, we need to clearly identify them. We must defeat them in the ideological war, not just in the battlefield. In order to defeat their ideology, we need to recognize what their ideology is. That's good too, because that's part of the problem is we go in there and think we're just going to blow everything up. And what we've done in our imperialist war machine has taken moderate Muslims and radicalized them. So what it sounds like she's saying is we need to separate them. And if you go to her website, the link to this, you'll see it. She goes into lengthy things of calling them, not saying they're all terrorists, but Islamic extremists separates them from the moderate Muslims and form more partnerships with them. But it's hard to form partnerships with countries when you're either A, backing a crazy dictator, or killing that dictator because that dictator doesn't want to play ball with the petrodollar, and then making things, and then there's a power vacuum where ISIS can get more traction. I mean, all the money we've spent, shouldn't Iraq be this really flourishing, Middle Eastern democracy and all this other stuff? No, we got ISIS blowing everything up because we helped create this situation. So this is the final thing that she puts on her website. The United States must use its leverage to pressure Saudi Arabia to stop spreading the Wahhabist extremist ideology through schools and mosques around the world, including in the U.S. We must stop arms sales and other assistance to Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states. I'm glad she's finally talking, somebody that's running is like, we're done with the Saudi thing. And she's smart in that the Khashoggi murder has kind of woken up people in America and forced the corporate media to talk about why do we sell all these weapons to the Saudi Arabia? Because they are involved in promoting and financing the jihadist ideology. Again, who were all the 9/11 bombers? What country did they come from? Saudi Arabia. The U.S. must stop treating as allies countries that are promoting the Wahhabist ideology that is the root of so much suffering worldwide. Absolutely. We can't sit there and talk about humanitarian crimes and injustices when our big ally that we sell all these weapons to, Saudi Arabia, does all this awful shit. So, every other thing on Tulsi's website is in line with my personal progressive views. The environment, LGBT, like all of it. All workers' rights, all of it. Women's rights, all of it. She's in line with all of it. This is the one area where I'm like, I'm going to ask these questions. And I think you should ask these questions too. And I welcome any of your comments, you guys. And it's something to bring up again. Those of you who watch my Super Chats, Sundays at 3 p.m. Pacific, love to hear what you have to say. Because we got to vet them all, man. You can't just say I'm a progressive. I've been following her a lot, and I really support so much of what she does. This is the one area where I have some questions, and I pose them here tonight. So let me know your thoughts. That sounded like a Vulcan thing, like when Sarek puts his eye and says, let me know your thoughts. I'm not doing a Vulcan mind meld, but we're going to add that as a Patreon tier. A Vulcan mind meld tier, just go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood. Thank you for making Gotham great again.